Hey everybody, today we're talking about what's in my sports photography bag for 2023. Let's get going. Hey everybody, today we're talking about what I'm shooting with in my sports photography, indoor, outdoor, accessories, you name it, in the year 2023. I did a video like this a couple years ago, about a year and a half ago, and things have significantly changed that. I've been able to do some upgrades, move on, get some better equipment, and I've changed the way I shoot games a little bit since I did those previous videos. Not significantly, but a little bit. So instead of just laying everything out in a big pile and going through piece by piece, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up. I'm talking about indoor sports, outdoor sports. I'll talk about whatever the crossovers are. I'll talk about accessories that kind of go with everything. And then at the end, I'll do specialty items that may or may not apply to either of those groups, indoor and outdoor. So with that said, let's talk about indoor sports. All right, so as far as indoor sports, over the last year or so, I've been able to upgrade a lot of my equipment. And probably the most significant upgrade is I am now shooting with a Nikon Z9 as my primary camera. It is phenomenal. It is, I've been a Nikon shooter since 1987, and this is just blows everything else they've got away. It was a little iffy with it at first. There was a big learning curve coming from DSLRs. However, I think the camera's really grown on me quite a bit. And Nikon just keeps giving new firmware that makes the autofocus better and better. So I am very happy with the Nikon Z9. Now, having said that, I retained my Nikon D5 older model. It's about 2 generations old now. However, it is still very capable. I'm still holding on to it. I haven't gone completely mirrorless yet. Because this camera is just still so capable, I don't want to completely convert over while I still got a camera that's still doing the job. Maybe if Nikon comes out with something that is a little less expensive than the Z9, but has this as good or better capabilities than the D5, I might go that route. But for now, I'm holding on to the D5. Now, when it comes to lenses for indoor sports, probably my top 2 are these two. This is a 24-70 f2.8. And this is a 70-200 f2.8. And of the two, the 70-200 gets the most work, quite honestly. This one, the 24-70, less so. You have to be very close to the players to actually use it. Occasionally use it for basketball. Occasionally use it for volleyball. But the 70-200 does the most work at all. This happens to be a Z model for the Z9, but I still have an F model that'll fit on the D5. Actually, this will still work on the Z9 with an adapter. Now, a lens I recently acquired is a Nikon 120-300 f2.8. And the reason I did that is because the older lens I was using, a 400, it's a little bit too much for indoors. This has great versatility for indoor sports. Now, it is significantly heavier than the 70-200. However, I can reach to the other end of the court, say for basketball, volleyball, whatever, and get some different looks. This is mostly an outdoor lens, but indoors, it's still very, very versatile. Now, when it comes to outdoor sports, things aren't significantly different, but they are a little different. For example, camera bodies, same ones. I'm not going to change the camera bodies out. Z9, D5, they're still in use. So no change there. Now, what is a change is how I shoot outdoor sports, because now we're dealing with much longer distances, and I've changed things up a little bit. So in previous videos, you saw me with a 400-8. Still have it. It is fantastically sharp lens. It gives you some great range, and it's f2.8, which helps an awful lot at night. But this thing is very heavy. Another lens I picked up recently is a 500 5.6 PF. This is a great little lens, very light, very similar in size to the 70-200. As you can see that, but this is really a daylight lens. At 5.6, you can't really use it at night, but during the day, it's fairly small and compact, and I can get stuff pretty far down the road. Now let me bring back in the 120-300. I'm using this a lot more at night, and that's why I got an f2.8 lens. It is shorter than that 400-2.8, which it's not so great. However, the fact that I can zoom in and out so quickly allows me to catch a lot of action that I can't catch with the 400-2.8. Even when you got two bodies and you're bouncing back and forth between the 400 and say a 70-200, it's a lot of work going back and forth. And frankly, you miss stuff. With this 120-300, I could zoom so quickly. I could go from, a quarterback throwing the pass down in my direction to switching quickly over to the receiver right in front of me without having to change camera bodies. And that is the beauty of this particular lens. And on top of that, I couple it with a 1.4x teleconverter from Nikon, put it on here. Now I have a 168-420 f4, and which, if you've got a really well lit venue, you can use it at f4. For example, some of the bigger colleges or pro stadiums, that kind of thing. And during the day, of course, you could use it just great. So more and more, I got to tell you, I'm using this 120-300 because it's so much lighter and so more versatile than, say, the 400-2.8. And this teleconverter just adds to that, especially for daylight sports. Another lens I get used a lot for field sports is, of course, the 70-200, which I couple with another camera body with the 400-2.8. I will note that if I'm using the 120-300, I almost never use this anymore because they overlap so much. If anything, I might pull out another body and maybe put a shoulder lens, 24-70, in case I'm doing stuff on the sidelines. But really, once I got that 120-300 going, these others don't really get used during the day very much. And that includes for like longer range sports, say like football, soccer, baseball, those kind of things. So 24-70 is used as much for field sports. This is usually, I pull this out if I know it's like a big game. I know there's going to be a big celebration on the sidelines. This bad boy comes out and it gets used extensively. All right, so we've covered indoor, we covered outdoor cameras and lenses. Now let's talk about some accessories and other add-on items to make your life easier, and that kind of go over both, indoor and outdoor. A couple other items I use pretty regularly, especially with the bigger long lenses, is a monopod. This one is by a company called SIRUI, how you pronounce it, I don't know. But anyway, I use it quite a bit. I've got this off Amazon. It was like $90. This gets used all the time. And I will add, I actually have two of these because I have had occasions where it was mounted on like the big heavy 400-2.8, and I just picked it up by the monopod and the head broke right off from the weight of the camera and that lens. So I always have two of these because you're supposed to have two of everything anyway, right? You always have a backup. Next thing is I want to talk about is occasionally we will have situations where I'm carrying two camera bodies with, say, shorter lenses, right? Maybe the 70-200 on one, 24-70 on the other, and you want to carry both of them. That does happen occasionally. So in that case, I like to use a strap system from Coiro, I believe it's pronounced COIRO. I like this. It's leather. It is adjustable. At the bottom, there are some clips, and on the clips, it swivels and it's pretty pronounced, pretty strong. And then you have these little D-rings that actually screw into the tripod mount, either on the bottom of your camera or the bottom of your lens mount. I like these quite a bit. It also has this other clip which connects to the side of your camera where your standard neck strap would connect to the camera. This one has two sets on either side. It's worked very well. In fact, I had a situation where that little D-ring actually unscrewed and it got saved by this little clip on the side of the camera. So I like these a lot. I know there's some other manufacturers out there that do the exact same thing, but I've been very impressed. I kind of like the leather. I like it a lot. Another item that kind of crosses both indoor and outdoor are chairs and stools. I like to get down low. I like to kind of shoot up at an angle toward my athletes because I think that make them look bigger, bolder, stronger, more athletic. That's what we're kind of going for here. Basically, I think these stools kind of fall in a couple of different categories. The kind I normally use is this kind right here, which folds out and sits down like that. I also have a stadium chair, which unfortunately I don't have in front of me right now, that I use a lot. It's in my previous video, and I will link it below. In fact, all these products. If I have a link to it, I will put it in the link below so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, now let's talk about bags. I have a couple different bags that I use, and uh, and they're overflowing, frankly, and I have to kind of like figure out where I put things. This one is a Think Tank Streetwalker hard drive, and I'll open up real quick and look inside. On this one, I like to set it. Now you can configure this many different ways. As you see here, I've got this set up where it'll hold like a camera body with a longer lens. Of course, I'll put different accessories or flashes or smaller lenses in these other pockets. Of course, it's got lots of pockets on the inside, lots of pockets on the outside, and of course, it is an actual backpack that you can carry around. All right, this is also made by Think Tank. This is called the Airport Roller Derby. And just like it suggested, actually, there's a roller. It has wheels on the bottom, wheels on the outside. This one is very cool. I like it because it actually has this attached wire cable that you can lock it to various locations. You can also run a small lock through the zippers right here to lock them so people can't get inside. Now, can this be defeated? Sure, somebody was, that desperate to get in, they could. However, this has proven very good. This one's a little dirty because, frankly, I use it all the time. You can see it. You can configure the inside a lot of different ways. I use this to carry the bigger lenses, the cameras with the bigger lenses. So, might have like a camera body with the 400, camera body with the 70 to 200, and it all goes in here. So I recommend it. It's pricey, several $100s as I recall, but I've had it for several years and it's held up, and I'm pretty impressed with it. All right, let me get to some basic accessories that get used all the time, no matter indoor or outdoor, it doesn't really matter. All right, here we go. Basic cleaning supplies. This is just some lens or glass cleaning fluid that I actually use in my own glasses, and a little cloth. Those get used. This is a larger one. It's a microfiber cloth. This gets used for larger issues, like I've gotten rained on and I've, toweled off the equipment. I've used that in the past. Next up, this is gaffer's tape. And gaffer's tape, I always carry some with me. It's great for emergency purposes, to tie things together. It doesn't really leave residue on your equipment. I guess it could if you left it on there for a year or so, but this stuff works really well, and it just peels off or rips off a piece very easily. So gaffer's tape is a nice little thing to have in a kit bag. Another cleaning item is this little blower thing. Batteries, you always carry extra batteries for anything that requires a battery. You always have extra batteries for it. This is a little device also made by Think Tank. I guess I'm on a Think Tank roll here. And this just holds extra cards just in case. I always carry like a little notepad, especially if I'm trying to keep track of people's names and numbers, stuff like that. You never know. It goes in the back. Again, another Think Tank item. Believe me, I'm not getting paid by Think Tank. This is an emergency rain cover. I'm not going to open it all up, but it actually would cover the entire 400-2.8 plus the camera body if it's raining really hard. Luckily, here in Phoenix, Arizona, it doesn't rain very often. I think I've been rained on twice in the last 5 years at an event. All right. Another item that gets used occasionally, I usually will tell you, if you watch my videos, I tend to use auto white balance quite a bit. However, a couple little tools you can use is gray card / white card. This gets used on occasion, usually in situations where I think my camera's getting thrown off. Another item, and I think this is pretty cool, and I'm probably gonna do a video on it at some point in time. So this is from Datacolor. It's called a spider cube. And basically you hang it up in front of your camera, you take a photo of it. And what you got is white, gray, black, and inside there is actually perfect black. This little item, and this the silver ball on top is for specular. What you could do is you take this photo in the light of the situation. Usually, when you're shooting RAW, not so much JPEG, that's harder to edit, but especially with RAW, you take a photo of the front of this with the black hole facing you, and it'll help you get white balance. It'll help you get proper exposure. on your raw photos when you go back and edit them. So Spider Cube from Data Color works pretty good. I've used it several times. Like I say, I'll probably do a video sometime and show you how to use that. So those are some common accessories that it doesn't matter if you shoot indoor or outdoor, those all get used. Now, a couple little specialty items I want to bring up. Now, most people don't really think of flash photography when it comes to sports. You know, we're so used to cameras that are capable of shooting in pretty dimly lit situations. And flash photography is limiting to a certain extent. It only goes bangs once, and there's a recycle time. However, I always carry one, especially if I'm doing events where I think there's going to be like a lot of emotions at the end of the game. Say like it's a football game, everybody's on the sidelines cheering, everything like that. The flash photography actually, I think, gives a cool effect to the photos. I'm not banging out 20 frames. I can afford to, manage my photos and let the flash recycle. You don't have to have any particular brand. These happen to be Nikons. I know the Godoxes really are good too. So, but for whatever brand of camera you are, I would invest in at least one flash. But you know me, I have two. Here's another little specialty items. Again, we're talking about flashes here. You're probably wondering why I have this big monolite right here and this somewhat smaller one. These are both by Godox. This is an 8200 Pro. This is an 8400 Pro. So why do I have these? Well, believe it or not, I occasionally use these for sports photography. You could do, say, a basketball game, inside basketball game, and the effects you get from flash photography inside a basketball game are pretty impressive. In fact, if you go to a major NBA game, watch the action, watch the ceiling above you. You'll often see flashes going off from the ceiling. Those are, the professional sports photographers who've got flashes set up in the ceiling to photograph the game. You could do the exact same thing, assuming the school or wherever your venue allows you to do it. The other reason I use these is I occasionally shoot running events that are at night. And as people cross the finish line, it's like almost pitch black. And I have to have the lights to do that. So that is why I have these. Plus I do event photography on the side. So these get used for event photography. All right, everybody, there you have it. My basic setup, indoor, outdoor, daylight, nighttime sports photography in 2023. If you are using something similar or something very different for your sports photography, I'd love to hear about it. Put it in the comments below. I'm curious what everybody else is using. And once again, I will put links to all these products in the description below, at least as many as I could possibly find.